Lately, we've been getting a lot of comments and questions from folks asking, what can I plant right now? For a lot of people out there, maybe their spring planting of squash or cucumbers is done. Maybe their beans are done producing. Maybe their corn's already been harvested. And they want to know what can they put in their garden right now that can take the summer heat. And there's several options as far as what you could plant right now. Even down here in the south, we could probably plant another round of squash or cucumbers as long as that worked into our rotation and we weren't planting it in the same spot. We could also plant more okra. Okra loves the heat. But the one thing I would recommend planting right now is sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are one of those few crops that we can grow all throughout that summer heat. They love the heat, they take it well, and they're just going to thrive and also provide some good cover in your garden. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be planting some sweet potatoes. Two main reasons I like growing sweet potatoes have to do with crop rotation and just simple maintenance. So sweet potatoes are in the morning glory family, and there's not really anything else in the morning glory family that we plant in our vegetable gardens. So we don't have to be real cautious with our rotation. Now, we don't want to plant sweet potatoes in the same spot in consecutive years, just like squash or anything else. So we want to be on a 3-year rotation or so or more with our sweet potato planting as far as putting it in the same spot. But since we're not growing anything else in that family, that's pretty easy. I've got 10 plots out here, but even if you had just a few plots, it's pretty easy to rotate around sweet potatoes. The second thing is maintenance. In my opinion, sweet potatoes are probably the most low maintenance vegetable garden crop you can grow. Once you get them in the ground, once you get those slips in the ground, get them up and going, there's not a whole lot you got to do to them. Just stand back, let them vines cover that area that you planted, wait about 100 days or so, give them a little water every now and then, and you'll be ready to dig sweet potatoes, and then they're going to store really well for you on into the winter months. Now, as opposed to Irish potatoes where we're planting pieces of the actual potato, with sweet potatoes we plant these things here called slips, and slips grow off the sweet potato. These things kind of start sprouting off the sweet potato and grow off, and then they pluck them off of there, bundle them up, and ship them to you. These here came from Steel Plant Company in Tennessee. I think they're actually done shipping for the year, but there's other places online, and you might even find somewhere locally that has sweet potato slips. So when they shipped these to us, you could tell they were ready to go in the ground or needed some water, even though they only just came from Tennessee to Georgia. Pretty short ride. So I put some water in the bottom of this bucket and set them in there overnight, and everything feels a lot better and healthy now. These things should take off pretty quick when we put them in the ground. So this little spot right here is where we're going to be putting our sweet potatoes this year. I'm going to be able to squeeze 5 rows in here. This area is probably 26 foot wide. Rows are 40 foot long. So we got some giant sunflowers there and some peppers and tomatoes over there. And we're going to put these sweet potatoes in the middle here. So I came in here with my tiller to kind of mark off where my rows are going to be. Sweet potatoes like nice, well-drained, fluffy soil. So that's why I use my tiller as opposed to the wheel hoe. And I kind of just, not real exact, marked them off about rows 3 feet apart or so. So I got 5 rows in here 3 feet apart, and I gave myself extra room on each side of the end of where the sweet potato plot's going to be, because those vines will trail a little bit. I don't want them climbing all over everything else in the garden. So 5 rows in here 3 feet apart. You don't have to be super exact with the row spacing because they're going to cover up everything anyways, but we try to get it somewhat close. Now there's several different options out there as far as varieties of sweet potatoes, and we've tried a few of them over the years. The Beauregard, the Centennial, the Covington, and the Georgia Jet. Up till last year, my favorite was the Covington, and I still think that's a really, really good variety. Last year we tried these Georgia Jets for the first time, and I really like those. I wouldn't say they make as pretty a sweet potato as the Covington, but they made some real nice big sweet potatoes and had a nice consistent harvest with them. So that's what we're going with this year. We're planting all Georgia Jets. As a part of that low maintenance thing I was talking about earlier, sweet potatoes really don't need a lot of water. They need some water. If you see those leaves starting to kind of wilt and stuff, you definitely want to give them some water. But they don't need as much as a lot of the other plants we grow in the garden. As a result, most of the time I don't put them on drip irrigation. I just have a tripod sprinkler. I'll just hit them every now and then, you know, when I see that they need it. So I'm not feeding them a ton of water on a regular basis. However, this year I am going to put mine on drip irrigation, and I'll show you why. So of all my 10 plots, this is my biggest plot here, and I've got lots of different stuff in here. Cucumbers, squash, eggplant, we got those giant sunflowers, and then, like I said, peppers and some cherry tomatoes over there. And all this other stuff is on drip irrigation. And it's mainly on drip irrigation, besides just being easier to water that way. I don't want a whole lot of leaf moisture on this stuff if I can help it. Just kind of keeps the disease down and makes the plants more healthy. So I want all that stuff on drip, minimize the leaf moisture. And these sweet potatoes in here, if I don't put them on drip and plant them in here and try to overhead water them, I'm inevitably going to be soaking down the leaves on some of this other stuff in here. So I can't really get in here with an overhead sprinkler and just water this little piece right here without getting everything else wet. So as a result of that, I'm going to put them on drip. I've already got this main line here ran, and so it's going to be real easy to put in drip. You just want to be careful with it and not overwater, and we're going to use some row start valves instead of just a simple row start, so we don't have to, we can turn these off while we're watering this other stuff pretty heavily, and just water the sweet potatoes every now and then. So my suggestion would be, if you're growing your sweet potatoes in a plot where there's going to be just nothing but sweet potatoes there, don't worry about the drip, especially if you got a good overhead sprinkler. Just overhead water them and they'll be fine. If you're growing sweet potatoes in a plot among other stuff that's already on drip, especially stuff you don't want a lot of leaf moisture with, then put them on drip. So it just depends on where you're planting them, what your plot looks like. Now, if you watch many of our videos, you know I almost always bury my drip tape. Everything here in this plot is on subsurface drip, so we bury the tape and plant on top of it, just like you see with those giant sunflowers there. But today I'm not going to bury the tape. I'm going to put it on the surface. I'm going to bury it later when I heal these sweet potatoes with my high arch wheel hoe. I'm just going to put it on the surface today. Now we're still going to use our drip tape layer setup here, but we're just basically using it to hold the spool today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tape here, let this spool hold it, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to walk down this row here, pull it to the end, cap it off, and come back here and attach it to the main line there. Hook it up. Shouldn't take just a second, but we're going to put it on the surface today as opposed to burying it. All right. We got our tape down there, got it turned on, inflated. Now it ain't exactly 3 feet between all of them rows, but it's close enough. It'll work for us. Now down here, as I was mentioning earlier, instead of using these traditional row starts, which is what I use almost everything else, we're using these with the valves on them. So I can turn this off here, water everything else in the garden except these rows of sweet potatoes, because I'm probably only be giving these guys about half as much water as everything else. And I don't think I've ever showed you guys this because I'm always burying this stuff, but this is what it looks like when water is coming out of the emitter there. So whether you bury it or not, you always want to make sure your drip tape emitters are facing up towards the sun, and the way it's designed is for that water to come out of that little hole there and kind of trickle over the sides of the tape. Always make sure you put the emitters facing upwards. And one more thing about not burying the tape is I don't have to wait on those water spots to appear in the soil. I can easily see where all these emitters are. Those emitters are located every 12 inches. And so we're going to put a plant beside every emitter here. We don't have to wait on anything. we're ready to plant some slips. So I got a bundle of slips here, and I'm not quite sure how many come in a bundle. Looks to be probably about 20, 25 plants or so. We ordered 500 between me and Dad, so we should have plenty. They put this stuff around them, looks like sphagnum or something, to keep them nice and moist. And you can see on these slips here, there's roots forming all along here, and you'll even see some roots starting to form way up here. So you want to make sure you plant these guys nice and deep. And that's one reason why we came in here and tilled this soil. We also put a little secret sauce down right there, some of our organic fertilizer. But that's one reason why we till it, is so we can plant them nice and deep. Don't have to use a shovel or a trowel or anything. We can just reach down there with our hands, put them in there nice and deep. So I can see my emitters right here. There's an emitter, there's an emitter, there's an emitter. I'm gonna put a plant by each emitter. So we're just gonna come in here, dig us a nice deep hole, and you can even kind of lay them sideways down in that hole there if you want to, like that. Nice and deep. If we cover up that tape a little bit, not going to hurt anything at all. Get us another slip out here. Make us a big hole right here. Get her down in there good. And we'll just work our way along the row here, putting one by every single one of these emitters on a 12-inch spacing. All right, all right, all right. Got them in the ground. 5 rows, a foot apart. Comes out to about 200 plants. Still got a few left there I can share with some folks. That's what you call sweet potato planting leg right there. Probably gonna have to strip down and wash off before I can make it back in the house. Plants look really good this time. Keeping them overnight in some water really helped. And when you first plant them like this, they're gonna look a little pitiful for a little bit. So I'm gonna leave this drip running on them probably all afternoon. And you normally want to plant these in the afternoon, late in the afternoon. They'll fare a lot better. But I thought I could get away with it this morning. Look at the sky there. It's kind of overcast today, kind of cool out here. So these guys should be okay, as long as I keep that drip running on them for a little while. And once they take root, well, you better stand back and watch. They'll cover up these spaces right here in no time. Won't really have to worry about weeds in here, because it'll just be one big patch of sweet potato vines. Now once these plants get growing a little bit and we get ready to hill them, that's H-I-L-L, hill, with our high arch wheel hoe and cover that tape, I'll be glad to make a video and show you guys how we do that. If you're growing sweet potatoes out there, let me know what your favorite variety is. And if you've never grown sweet potatoes and are thinking about it, and you have some more questions, put those in the comments below, and I'll be glad to try to answer them for you. I'll put a link below to our drip irrigation supplies so you can check those out. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that bell button so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you enjoyed this one, check out these other 2 sweet potato videos right here. I think you'll really like those as well. We'll see you next time.